I learned English with just 7 sentences. Here's how it changed my life. Hey there, my name is Daniel, and today I want to share something that completely changed my life. No, this isn't just another Learn English Fast video. This is the truth about how I went from knowing almost no English to speaking confidently in public, at work, and even making new friends. And it all began with just 7 simple sentences. Yes, just 7. These sentences are powerful, not because they're advanced, but because they gave me the tools I needed to survive, learn and connect with people when I was completely lost. If you're learning English and feel stuck, overwhelmed, or nervous, this video is for you. Let's go back to the beginning. 5 years ago, I arrived in London with a small backpack and a big dream. I wanted to study, I wanted to work, I wanted a better life, but there was one huge problem. I couldn't speak English. I thought I knew a few words. Hello, thank you, maybe sorry. But the moment I landed, reality hit me like a wall. At the airport, a man in a uniform asked me something. I froze. I didn't understand. I just smiled and said, yes. I had no idea what I was agreeing to. On the bus, I couldn't ask where to get off. In the store, I didn't understand prices or product names. At school, when teachers asked questions, I lowered my head and stayed silent. Every day, I felt like I was drowning in words. I wanted to speak, but I couldn't. I wanted to learn, but I didn't know where to start. Then, one day, everything changed. It was raining that day. Cold, grey, typical London weather. I was sitting alone on a bench outside the language school, looking at my phone, pretending to understand what I was reading. Then a woman sat down next to me. She was older, calm, kind face. She looked at me and smiled. "You're new here?" she asked. I panicked. My heart raced, but I nodded. "Yes," I said. She asked where I was from. I told her. She asked if I liked London. I smiled again, but said nothing. Then she said something I'll never forget. "Don't worry about learning all the words. Just learn how to ask." At first, I didn't understand. She continued, "If you know how to ask, people will help you. If you ask, you learn. It starts with asking." She wrote 7 sentences on a small notebook and gave it to me. "Practice these, they'll open doors for you." Those 7 sentences changed everything. This was the first sentence on the list. "Can you say that again?" I used it the very next day. I was at a cafe. The barista said something about sizes. I didn't catch it. Instead of smiling and pretending like before, I took a breath and said, "Can you say that again?" And he did. Slowly. Kindly. No judgment. That was the first time I realized. People don't mind repeating themselves. They just need to know you're trying. I use this sentence every day. On the train, at the shop, at school. When you don't understand, don't pretend. Just ask. This one sentence gave me power I didn't have before. It taught me. Asking is better than guessing. And guess what? Every time I used it, people responded positively. They appreciated my effort. I wasn't invisible anymore. The second sentence was even more powerful. How do you say this in English? This sentence opened the door to new vocabulary, naturally. Instead of searching Google Translate all the time, I began asking real people, pointing at objects, holding up items in the supermarket. How do you say this in English? One time, I held up a fruit in a market and asked the man at the stall. He smiled and said, "That's a pomegranate." Then he said it again slowly, "Pomegranate." We both laughed when I repeated it wrong, but I never forgot that word. This sentence helps you build vocabulary in the real world, in context. With emotion, you connect the word to an experience. That makes it stick in your brain. So simple, so powerful. The third sentence is a lifesaver. Can you speak more slowly? Native speakers talk fast, really fast, and sometimes they mumble or use slang. In the beginning, I used to just smile and nod, even when I didn't understand. But once I started saying, "Can you speak more slowly?" everything changed. I remember asking a bus driver for directions. He answered quickly. I didn't catch anything. So I said, "Can you speak more slowly, please?" He smiled, repeated himself, and even gave me a map. This sentence shows confidence. It tells people, I'm not stupid. I'm learning. I just need a bit of help. And 99% of the time, they're happy to help. So don't be afraid. Ask them to slow down. It's your right as a learner. The fourth sentence might seem small, but it's incredibly useful. How do you spell that? When I had to fill out forms, bank forms, school registration, job applications, this sentence saved me. Names, places, technical words. English spelling is often unpredictable. I remember once trying to write down the name Jeffrey. I thought it was Joffrey. The receptionist smiled and said, "It's Geoffrey." I repeated it after her. I wrote it down. And now I'll never forget it. This sentence helps you write accurately. It helps you listen carefully. And it gives you more chances to speak and repeat. It's especially helpful for names and addresses, and it shows people that you care about getting things right. Here's one of my favorites. What does that mean? This sentence is magic. Instead of ignoring new words or pretending to understand them, I started asking. One day in class, a teacher said, "This part is optional." I didn't know the word. So I asked, "What does optional mean?" She smiled and said, "It means you don't have to do it. It's your choice." Suddenly, the sentence made sense, and now I use that word all the time. Asking this question turns confusion into clarity. It's direct, it's honest, and it leads to learning every single time. So don't be shy. Ask, what does that mean? It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of curiosity and courage. Chapter 8. Sentence. 6. Let me try to say it. 31, 30 or 35, 30. The sixth sentence gave me confidence. Let me try to say it. I started using it when I wanted to practice new words. Out loud. Before, I used to just listen, quiet, passive, but this sentence changed my role. Now, I became active. When someone said a new word, I would say, "Let me try to say it," and then repeat it. Sometimes I got it wrong. Sometimes I made them laugh. But that's okay, because I was learning. Speaking is a muscle. You have to use it. This sentence gives you permission to practice, to try, to speak without fear. Use it often. It's a doorway to fluency. And finally, sentence number 7. Did I say that right? Feedback is gold. When you try to speak and ask for feedback, you grow fast. I once said, "I am boring," instead of "I am bored." My teacher laughed, kindly, and corrected me. I smiled and asked, "Did I say that right now?" She said, "Perfect." This sentence shows you want to improve. It creates trust with teachers, friends, and even strangers. People appreciate when you care about speaking correctly, so say the sentence. Get the feedback, learn, repeat. Every time you ask, "Did I say that right?" you become better. So there you have it. Simple sentences that changed my life. Not because they're fancy, but because they work. They helped me ask. They helped me connect. They helped me grow. And they can help you too. Don't wait to be perfect. Just start asking. One sentence at a time. Practice them this week. Use them in real conversations. Comment below which one helped you most. And if this helped you, share it with someone else who's learning English. Let's build this journey together. See you next time. And remember, learning English doesn't start with knowing everything. It starts with asking.
You know that feeling, right? That one where you're maybe staring at a mountain of information, trying to learn something totally new, like a language, and you just feel stuck.
Yeah, completely overwhelmed.
Exactly. Like you don't even know where to start, let alone how to actually get fluent.
It's super common, that feeling, especially with something as big as learning a whole new language.
And that specific challenge, that's really what we're diving into today. We've got this really interesting source material. It's a story from someone named Daniel.
Right.
And he talks about how his whole journey to English fluency just completely changed. It all started, believe it or not, with just 7 sentences.
Just 7 simple sentences. It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it?
It really does. So our mission here is to unpack Daniel's story.
Yeah.
We want to get into the specifics, understand the real power behind these sentences. Like, why did they work so well for him?
Extract those practical insights.
Exactly. What can you take away from this? Okay, let's unpack this. So Daniel lands in London. This is about 5 years ago. He's got these big dreams, study, work, better life, full stuff.
But his English was, well, minimal, really basic.
We're talking like, hello, thank you, sorry. That's pretty much it.
And the source really paints this picture of immediate reality shock, like total culture shock plus language barrier.
Yes.
He felt completely lost right away. He mentions this moment at the airport. Someone in uniform asks him something.
He just freezes.
Totally freezes, doesn't understand a word, but he just, smiles and says yes. No clue what he just agreed to.
Oh, no. That's terrifying.
And it wasn't just big things, simple stuff like asking where to get off the bus. Impossible, going into a shop, couldn't understand prices, didn't recognize product names.
Just feeling completely isolated.
Totally. And it followed him into the classroom too. Teachers asked questions and he just head down. Silence.
Wow.
He literally uses the phrase drowning in words. He wanted to learn desperately. But the sheer volume of English, he had no idea how to even start. Where do you begin?
That feeling of paralysis is so relatable, isn't it? You want to move, but you're just stuck. But then there's this turning point in his story. It's a typical cold, gray London day. He's outside the language school feeling defeated.
Right. Couldn't even bring himself to go in.
Exactly. Yeah. Just sitting there. And this older woman sits next to him. She seemed really calm, kind.
Yeah, he mentions her presence was very calming.
And she starts talking to him, and somehow he manages to respond a bit. And then she gives him this advice, the advice that changed everything for him.
And what was it?
She said, don't worry about learning all the words right now. Just learn how to ask.
Ah, that's interesting. Not learn these specific words, but learn how to ask.
Precisely.
And Daniel explains why that was so powerful. It shifted the focus. It wasn't about knowing everything. It was about having the tool to find out.
The tool to get the answer.
Exactly. Because if you can ask, people usually help. Asking unlocks learning. She actually wrote down 7 sentences for him in a notebook.
All of them tools to survive, learn, and connect.
Survive, learn, and connect. That's a great way to put it. They're functional.
Totally. And Daniel makes this point. They weren't fancy or advanced grammar. They were powerful because they worked. Simple tools for the real world.
Practicality over complexity.
Right. So let's get into them. The first one she wrote down was, can you say that again?
Okay, straightforward enough. Its purpose seems obvious. Get someone to repeat themselves.
Yeah, but think about how often you just nod along when you don't understand.
True. It takes a little confidence to stop someone and ask.
Well, Daniel used it the very next day. In a cafe, barista said something about sizes way too fast. Old Daniel would have just nodded.
Guest probably got the wrong size.
Probably. But new Daniel took a breath and said it. Can you say that again? And the barista repeated it slowly, clearly. No problem at all.
And that's the key lesson he learned, right? People usually want to help you understand. They just need to know you didn't. Asking is way better than guessing.
Definitely. He started using it everywhere, train, shops, class. He said it made him feel visible, not stupid.
Visible. Engaged in the conversation, even if he needed help. Okay, powerful start. What's next?
Okay. The second one, Daniel calls this even more powerful. It's, how do you say this in English?
Ah, the vocabulary builder. This one's great because it grounds learning in your immediate surroundings.
Exactly. Forget just looking things up. He started pointing. In the supermarket, how do you say this? At the market, how do you say this?
Making it tangible.
Totally. He tells this great little story. He's at a market, sees this weird fruit, picks it up, asks the vendor, how do you say this in English?
And
The guy smiles, Says, that's a pomegranate. Repeats it for him. Daniel tries to say it back, messes it up completely.
Aha, I can picture it.
They both laughed. But because of that interaction, that real object, that little moment, he says he never forgot the word pomegranate.
That makes so much sense. Learning in context, tied to an experience and emotion, it sticks way better than just a word list.
Absolutely. This sentence is your key to building vocabulary naturally.
Okay, number 3. This one sounds essential.
Daniel called it a lifesaver. And yeah, if you've ever been lost in a stream of fast native speech, you'll get it. Can you speak more slowly?
Oh, definitely a lifesaver. The speed is often the biggest hurdle, isn't it? Not just the words.
For sure. This sentence gives you control. It lets you manage the pace.
And it shows confidence, in a way. You're not just nodding blankly.
Right. His old habit was just smile and nod, pretend he got it, which led to, constant confusion.
Understandable.
But then he started using it. He needed directions from a bus driver once. The guy answers super fast. Daniel just says, can you speak more slowly, please?
And how did the driver react?
Paused, softened his expression, repeated it slowly. Daniel said he even pulled out a little map to help him.
See, it works. It's basically saying, hey, I'm trying here. I'm learning. Just need a little adjustment.
Exactly. Daniel found that like 99% of people were happy to slow down. He even says asking is you're right as a learner.
That's a strong way to frame it.
Yeah.
Okay, what's number 4?
Number 4 seems small, but Daniel found it incredibly useful for getting things right. It's, how do you spell that?
Yes. English spelling.
Well,
Need I say more?
Nope. It's crucial for accuracy, right? Writing things down correctly.
And for listening carefully, too. Hearing the letters spoken out loud.
Daniel used it all the time for forms. Bank forms, school applications, jobs, names, addresses, anything unfamiliar he had to write.
Makes sense.
He tells this specific story about writing the name Jeffrey. He was convinced it was spelled Jofffery.
A common assumption.
Right. So he asked the receptionist, how do you spell that? And she patiently went, Geoffrey. He repeated it after her.
So it's not just about the immediate need. It's practice. Linking sounds to letters, paying attention to detail, shows you care.
Exactly. Okay, number 5. Daniel calls this one magic. It's the direct opposite, just ignoring a word you don't know.
Let me guess. What does that mean?
You got it. What does that mean? Simple, direct.
Turns that moment of confusion right into a learning opportunity instantly.
He gives an example from class. Teacher uses the word optional. Daniel has no idea. Instead of zoning out, he raises his hand. Excuse me, what does optional mean?
Good for him. Takes a bit of courage.
Totally. And the teacher explains, it means you don't have to do it. It's your choice. And boom, new word unlocked, instantly understood in context.
It's direct, it's honest, and like Daniel found, it always results in learning something. It's not weakness, it's curiosity.
Active engagement.
Curiosity and courage, yeah. Okay, number 6. This one was big for Daniel's speaking confidence.
Okay.
Let me try to say it.
Ooh, I like that. Shifting from passive listening to active production.
Exactly. It's like giving yourself permission to practice right then and there. Using that speaking muscle, as Daniel puts it.
Getting over the fear of making a mistake out loud.
Yeah. So when someone used a new word he wanted, he'd politely jump in, oh, okay, let me try to say it. And then he'd just say it, even if it came out wrong.
Even if people laughed a little. He said sometimes they did, but it didn't matter. The point was the practice. He called it a doorway to fluency. You have to actually use the language.
Makes total sense. You can't just listen your way to fluency. You have to speak.
Okay, one left.
That's a final one. Number 7. And this ties into getting better faster. Daniel says, feedback is gold. The sentence is, did I say that right?
Closing the loop, asking for confirmation for correction. That's smart.
Yeah, it actively seeks out that refinement, shows you really want to improve your accuracy.
Accelerates the learning curve.
He shares that classic learner moment saying, I am boring, instead of I am bored.
We've all been there.
Right. Teacher gently corrects him, and Daniel immediately follows up. Okay, bored. Did I say that right now?
Yeah.
Teacher says, perfect.
That's brilliant. It shows you're listening, you're processing the feedback, and you care about getting it correct. Builds trust, too.
Totally. With teachers, friends, anyone helping you, every time you ask that, you get a tiny bit better. You're refining how that speaking muscle works. So those are the 7. Can you say that again? How much stuff as in English? Can you speak more slowly? How do you spell that? What does that mean? Lie. Let me try to say it. Did I say that right?
Yeah. Looking at them together, they're not, high-level grammar. They're Incredibly simple functional tools.
But profoundly effective for Daniel. They weren't the destination, but they were the keys to unlock everything else.
They let him ask, connect, and just grow. He basically asked his way to fluency.
And that's really the core message from his story, isn't it? The power isn't in having all the knowledge up front. It's in having the tools and maybe the courage to ask your way through the confusion.
So for you listening, think about these sentences. Maybe they seem obvious, but Daniel's story shows how powerful they can be when you actually use them.
Don't just know them, deploy them.
Right. Maybe pick 1 or 2 this week. Try them out in a real situation. See what happens.
And just remember that key insight from Daniel's journey. Learning English, or really learning anything big and new, it doesn't start when you know everything. It starts the moment you're brave enough to ask.